Question 4, the same for candidate Eddie Hendry. Would you like me to repeat the question? Name your top 3 priorities to bring the deficit and budget under control, and what specific action will you take to make it happen?
Well, that's a very good question. It's something that you can do within the first 3 to 4 months. The first thing we have to do is we have to freeze our federal spending at the $2.7 trillion that the government brings in every year. Then we need to pass a balanced budget amendment to make sure that the budget is balanced. The third thing we have to do is work on our tax code. Now, I'm a supporter of the fair tax, and that's a longer-term solution. However, we can immediately cut our corporate or business taxes in half. We can also get rid of the estate tax and get rid of capital gains tax to create an environment so that our businesses can hire people and expand and build wealth. That will bring the deficit back, because the only way you can get out of deficit is to grow. And Ronald Reagan proved that. So those are the 3 things that I would say that you have to do. Longer term, you have to start working on entitlement programs, and I have plans for that. And hopefully we'll get to that a little later on. Thank you.
Question 5 goes to candidate David Scholl. The same question. Would you like me to repeat it? What specifically will you do concerning the... I'm sorry. It's not the same question. What specifically will you do concerning the increase of taxes that will become effective January 1st, 2011?
I hate all taxes. So right now, on the books, if you look at what this president is planning and what this Congress wants to do, they have at least 9 tax increases that will be coming down the pike at the beginning of January. I guarantee you, I have never met a tax that I like, nor will I support. I support a complete overhaul of our tax code. Ideally, I would like to see the fair tax. If not, then the flat tax. If not that, then a return to the Reagan taxes of the early 80s. But I'm in love with the fair tax, because the fair tax, and I know a lot of you guys are going to have problems with this, it abolishes the IRS. Now, I know a lot of people like the IRS. But we abolish the IRS, and then you keep 100% of your paycheck. I don't care if you have a current job or if you're a Social Security recipient, you get 100% of that. And if you're a company that has money overseas, you can return it to our shores with no tax. The fair tax will make America the tax haven of the world. Businesses will flock to our shores. We will increase domestic manufacturing. We will have manufacturing return here to Jackson County, just like the old days.
Next question goes to candidate Steve Sutherland. The same question. What specifically will you do concerning the increase of taxes that will become effective January 1st, 2011?
Since that affects our family, and we have 3 family businesses, so I work with all my siblings and my parents, and these taxes, the Bush tax cuts that you made reference to, the death tax, these are things that we are going to unfortunately have to bear because we helped create this mess that is now in Washington, D.C. And so therefore, and let me say this, no Congress that's elected in November is going to have the ability to go up there this year and in the IRS. You don't have the White House, that's not going to happen. So what can you do was the question. The first thing that we must do is make sure that Congress does not fund the health care bill. Because inside that health care bill, there are billions and billions and billions of dollars of new taxes upon the American people. So the Republicans are going to have to hold that line. And they're going to have to make sure that they also hold the line on any other spending bills that the Democratic Party and President Obama wants to push through. They're going to have to hold the line next year.
The next question for Paul McCain. How would you propose to create jobs for Americans when the costs are so much higher here than in many other countries?
Okay, I've had an international business before. I've had 2 national, 1 international. And I've been there. I know what this is all about. I hate to keep throwing this out, we've said it so many times, but honestly, if we would implement the fair tax in this country, the jobs will start flocking back. You can't give a temporary fix or nothing temporary that are going to get the jobs to come back. Because if they know it's temporary, they're not going to come back and build their plants knowing in 2 or 3 years it's over again. We're going back to the way it was. The fair tax, in essence, it just makes it so, I mean, everybody in here will pay, roughly they estimate 23% on everything you buy. Sounds like a lot. Folks, it's already built in there already. That will disappear. Every penny you make in your checks will come back to you. You'll have more money to spend. The corporations don't get taxed now. They come back. They come back here, and that is how we get the... If they didn't have to pay these ridiculous taxes they're paying now, they'd still be here. Thank you.
Our next question is for Ron McNeil. Describe how you would develop a short and long-term plan to achieve energy independence for America.
Well, for one thing, if you'll just think back to what we had 100 years ago, and I lived most of that, I'm 65 years old, we didn't have much. And when you look at the technology that's come this 100 years, we know we have 100, 200 years more of oil already in our ground that we can drill out. So we need to continue to use the oil we have, perfect the things so that we have refineries here. We haven't built a refinery in America in 35 years. Let's use the oil we have. Let the mines flow. I've got a dozen U.S. patents myself. The last 5 is in the environmental field with 97 patent claims ready on how to resolve problems with the environmental system like sewer and stormwater for cities. We're with about 600 or 700 cities nationwide. I too am not a politician. But I do understand finances. I understand energy. I'm in the midst right now with a group from Texas all the way to Washington, D.C. where I'm trying to pull together a team to solve the oil problem on this Gulf out here. But we will solve those problems, and energy will be the forefront in every category of way that we can create energy. We're going to have to use it. And all the mines that do have good inventions and things, they will go to work, and before this oil runs out, we'll have plenty of new inventions on keeping energy going for this country. All the countries that are in energy will be doing the same thing. Thank you.
The same question for Eddie Hendry. Eddie, would you like me to repeat? Describe how you would develop a short and long-term plan to achieve energy independence for America.
Well, the short-term plan is to take advantage of all the natural resources we have in this country, like the oil shale in the Rocky Mountains, drilling in Anwar, and I know it's a catastrophe in the Gulf, but we've got to continue drilling out there because that's where 30% of our domestic oil supply comes from. That being said, the people that caused this oil spill need to compensate our brothers down on the coast for their loss of livelihood, so that can't be lost. The next thing we have to do is we've got to build more nuclear power plants. We don't have enough nuclear energy. France is doing it, and good gosh, if we're having to take lessons from France, you know we're backing up. The other thing is we've got to get rid of this cap and trade bill because it does nothing to help with global warming, which I don't think exists, but it causes unemployment. The last thing we have to do is that our fossil fuel is going to be around for a long time. When the free market determines our renewables are a viable source, the American people will buy it. Thank you.
And the same question for David Schull. Describe how you would develop a short-term and long-term plan to achieve energy independence for America.
Real quick, I want to touch on the fair tax passage. I don't think that every time the Democrats are in power, they can pass a stimulus bill in 48 hours, they can pass health care in 6 months, they can do a total financial overhaul in 3 months. Why do I have to wait on conservative principles to be established now? I do not accept that, and that is why I am running. I am tired of people telling me that our principles don't matter, and they have to be worked through committee, and they have to be done properly. If I need a friend in Washington, I'll get a dog, but I'm going up there to fight for you. With regards to energy, we're going to turn on the nuclear switch. We're going to open up all our natural resources, oil, natural gas, and coal, to develop them. We're going to engage the free market so that companies can go out and develop our natural energy. We're going to tell Ken Salazar to open up Anwar as well as the oil fields of Utah. If America will increase our domestic energy production 5%, that's 90,000 jobs. We have everything we need here in America to be energy independent. We just need to get rid of the Department of Energy.
question for Steve Sutherland. What authority should the EPA have, and how specifically will you establish increased control over the EPA?
Well, and I will say this, as far as these are great ideas we're talking about tonight, and if you want these ideas to be pushed through, such as creating an energy plan, such as making sure that the federal government, so that we can pass some of the ideas that you're going to hear tonight, well then take the same passion you have now and carry that into 2012. We've got to win the White House. We can talk about running up there and running on passion, but as long as the Democrats have the White House, that passion is only going to get you so far, folks. You took civics. You understand. We have got to make sure that we continue the momentum through the November elections and run right into